Start again.
Welcome to another episode, Mind That Books podcast.
The table's on it.
Oh my goodness. Thanks for joining me. What's up?
Yeah, not much.
You're leaving to Mars soon.
I hope so. I won't get off this fucking planet.
Why does nobody ever go to Venus?
It'll crush you.
I'm gonna call it right now.
No.
It's gonna be the new trend in sci-fi. Because it's all about manpower, God of War, Mars, and then, the trends change. So in the next 5-10 years, the writers will finally realize that the women from Venus are much stronger because, like you said, they have to resist the gravity, they have to resist the heat, they have to resist the acids, they have to resist all these horrible things. So there has to be a sci-fi story on Venus. Where is it?
The old ones were, actually.
Get your breasts to Venus.
This is where people stop watching.
Yep.
Yeah.
Goodbye. This is...
Bye, thanks for watching.
Yep.
And I have to leap out my cuss word in the first 30 seconds.
So we've gathered here today. I have been planning this for a long time. I'm super excited to talk about Philip Kindred Dick, aka Mr. Dick, and his creative work.
I didn't know that was his middle name. Kindred?
Kindred, yes.
Kindred, okay.
It's PKD. This is what you see on the books.
Yeah. I was watching a documentary last night.
Yeah. So we'll talk in depth about his life. I am very, very interested in this guy. Would you say he is famous?
Yeah, actually, he's reminding me of back to my old thing of Lovecraft.
Yeah, exactly.
Very famous in certain circles. Lovecraft was quite famous in weird fiction in the pulps.
But I think
but
he transcended.
But after his death.
But people know who he is. Like, people know very much who he is.
Yeah, but I'm talking about during his life.
Okay.
In weird fiction, he was famous in the pulps. But when he died, that's when he kind of became famous. He was sort of brought back. And I think Philip K. Dick is kind of the same, actually.
He was really famous at the end of his life, because that's when the Blade Runner movie came out.
Okay.
And he started to be finally, fine and rich. And then, unfortunately, he passed away. It's very unfortunate.
Yeah, I was watching a documentary last night, and the scene at the beginning or something, I think he was giving a speech in France.
Yes, that's the speech, yes.
I didn't watch it, but he was at the beginning. But he sits down at the desk, and just looking at him, and he's like banging the microphone. And I was like, oh, he must be in his late 70s or something.
No, he's 40.
I know. I was like, oh my God, he died at 53.
We'll get to this, but this speech is infamous for him having a breakdown or a huge negative kind of milestone in his life.
Okay.
One of his wives said in the documentary that she went there to see him give this speech, and nobody wanted to have him give a speech at that point. And she said, I wish I wasn't there. I wish I didn't hear any of this. His beautiful mind and creative genius completely disappeared from his life, she said. I was like, oh. We'll get into this. We have to talk about his speech. It's very, very interesting.
Okay. I didn't watch it, but
That's fine.
I was just shocked by his appearance.
You are very, very, very true. So do you think people know who Philip K. Dick is? I don't think you do.
I think they do.
I think he's not famous.
I think the name is now.
Is he?
Definitely from the movies.
I think it's a really, really clever, creative, very original style of writing kind of creative person. Unfortunately, super paranoid and not very well known about because everybody he's been in contact with suffered inevitably, eventually, because of what he's been through. And people are kind of trying to distance themselves from him, and he was always at the level, at the edge of being insane, from the other people's point of view. He was always at the edge of being classified as a complete lunatic, but he never was a complete lunatic, and the things he said were kind of making sense, but people were looking down at him. I think they were not really, they were kind of happy that he's okay. They were never happy that he's creative. So yeah,
when I was looking at your notes, and I was reading a bit about him through his biography, and there's a part where his house was burgled or something. And the first thing I thought was he probably did it himself. And then apparently it comes up that maybe he did do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into this.
Yeah.
So no secret, no surprise. This is actually my excuse to talk about Mr. Dick. This is not actually about Total Recall, but we will talk about Total Recall, which is a short story that's called
We Can Remember It For You, Wholesale.
So before we get into Phillip K. Dick, how did you like the short story?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's pretty short. It takes about 50 minutes to read. I think most people are familiar with the movie. It just covers kind of like the first part of the movie kind of thing.
Yeah, we all grew up with the movie. I think it's one of the most amazing visuals wise and like being rough, like kind of boys movie. So I will never forget the scenes from this movie when I was growing up.
When did you first watch it?
I very young. I don't know, but very young.
I watched it when I was like 12 years old.
I remember.
With my mother in the movie theater.
So did your mother like the movie?
Oh, she did.
Did she approve of you watching it afterwards?
Yeah, my mother's never like been into like sort of censoring what we can't watch kind of thing. I don't know. When I was really young, she said, "Oh, you should watch this movie. It's really great." And it was like the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
No,
it was like 11 or 12 or something. It's fine.
Definitely fine. Me watching Event Horizon also fine. Did you see that as a child, as a teenager?
No, I was much older than you.
Yeah.
When I came out, I was already 20.
What did you think?
A bit gross.
Yeah, it's super gross.
I didn't really like it. It wasn't that great sci-fi.
Yeah.
Was that the thing with the eyes or something?
Yeah. You don't need eyes where we're going.
Yeah.
So this movie, I think, is very, very creative. The story came out in 1966. Short story fantasy sci-fi magazine first. And for that time, I think it's amazing. I think it holds up well. It's easy to read. It's got very creative ideas.
Yeah.
It's all of his books, all of Philip K.'s books are very different, like fresh, new kind of sci-fi story ideas. So no wonder that maybe 5 movies were made based on his work.
Yeah. Minority Report, Blade Runner,
Scanner Darkly.
Oh, yes.
There's also Adjustment Bureau.
Yes, I didn't finish that movie.
I didn't mind it. It was okay.
Hang on.
There's also Radio Free Albermouth or something. I haven't seen that one. I kind of want to see it actually.
I don't know.
What did you think about the Scanner Darkly movie?
I haven't seen the whole thing actually.
I couldn't understand what's happening.
Oh, okay.
I had
makes sense.
Very similar feeling I had about Ubik or Ubik, the book. I read that book a long time ago because the Times magazine said that it's one of the most prolific, most interesting, most wonderful books in sci-fi ever.
It's not.
Hard no for me.
Yeah.
I hate that book so much. I was so...
Why you hate it?
I was so paranoid and so like kind of messed up and disgruntled and put off by this whole thing. But it wasn't bad is the thing why I hate it.
Okay.
Because the story was interesting, the characters were good, the premise was creative, the things that happened were very, very intriguing, but it has this undertone of paranoia, like discomfort.
Sounds a bit like the author.
Yes, everything he writes, and in this story it's there as well, but it's kind of not the point. Is always questioning what's real and what you believe and what's actually reality. And it's too well put, so it makes you question yourself what actually is real, and I don't like this feeling.
Too sensitive.
Like we talked about Lovecraft on a bunch of episodes. He does the same thing, but with Lovecraft, it's more about anxiety, I think. Like when you read it, I feel a little anxious sometimes about the characters. And it's more about mystery and descending into madness, and it's kind of entertaining to see the characters go crazy. In the stories, like especially the Ubik book, it feels like you are going crazy. I don't like that.
I'm interested now. Okay.
And the Scanner Darkly movie is like that too. It's like the characters are going bonkers, and it's like you as well.
That had really cool like artifact actually. That movie.
Yes, the visuals are very creative, and I would like to read that actually.
In the fact that it has who's the actor?
Robert
Count.
Both of them, maybe.
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, and Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, but Robert Downey Jr. has had a history of like drug problems and everything like this. So it's kind of ironic that he was in it, I thought. But
yeah. So in this short story, the premise is that the character doesn't know or cannot be sure which memories are true, which is very concerning. Like if you think about it, like you cannot be sure which memories are actually your memories.
Yeah.
You cannot be sure how much you twisted the memories you actually have. If you have technology that can implant the memories, then it's all a mess. And how can you even know who you are if you can't be sure which memories are yours? Is the premise of the story. And this is the kind of thing that he deals a lot in his works, which I think is very creative and very well imagined. So I would recommend it, definitely. This short story.
That's easy to read. It's short.
And very different from the movie. Not very different, but just ends differently. And
yeah, that's it. It's different.
And most of the movie is not in the short story.
I think this is what every time there's like a famous book or something and they try to make it into a movie, it's never good.
But it's usually the opposite. Usually they cut out half or most of the book and put so here there is.
That's my point. Is that this works perfectly because he's giving you a concept that you can work with.
Exactly.
And that's why I think they work really well. So I think movie companies should focus on maybe short stories.
Perfect material for movies. I absolutely agree.
Except Lovecraft, which is almost impossible to do. But it has been done, but it's really hard to do. But but his stuff works really well, I think, because the concepts are really good.
And it can be visualized and realized and depicted very well. Unlike Lovecraft, which is more about the imagination and the things that go on in your head. This is more technical, more, how would you say, tangible than Lovecraft.
Yeah, there have been a couple of good adaptations of Lovecraft, but it's very rare usually.
So finally, let's talk about Mr. Dick. I'm so excited.
PKD.
PKD, I'm just kidding. So
You're very uncomfortable when you keep saying Dick all the time.
Yeah, so I should read you the family names of the Dick family.
Yeah, other thing too, like the similarities with like Lovecraft, that Lovecraft had like a mental breakdown when he was in school and didn't finish and was basically self-educated. And PKD was the same, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had multiple mental breakdowns.
Yeah, and his parents were separated, raised by his mother.
Yeah.
Another kind of similarity too. But but very different people. But,
I like in the documentary how his friends described his mental breakdowns, and they said it happened again, and supposedly he had a mental breakdown of some sort. I wouldn't care, but I was just trying to make sure he survived. Terrible.
Well, into like when I was watching the documentary and they interviewed this woman and it comes up at the bottom like fifth wife.
Yes.
Like, how many times has he been married? And why? Really, like,
yeah.
Who was marrying this guy? Like, I mean,
I
mean, like, if I said to someone I've been married 4 times, like, it's a big red flag, I would think. Isn't it?
There's this distasteful meme going around that says "Don't stick your dick in crazy." What's the reverse of this? What do you do with the guy? Like, don't get with this crazy guy. How would you phrase this in a meme form?
I'm okay with sticking your dick in crazy, but anyway. But
so he had 5 wives.
Okay, he didn't have a 6. Okay.
And multiple like girlfriends. So after the 5th wife, he didn't get married, but there was a girlfriend that stayed with him, so probably 6 or more.
Sure.
4 children. One of the wives was 19 years old when they married.
Did any of the kids go on to something?
Sorry, what?
Did any of the kids go on to something?
Not really, as far as I know. I didn't check, but I don't think so.
No.
So he's American, and the parents are Irish, I want to say.
Okay, makes sense.
He dropped out of college. Guess why?
Didn't like the course?
No, he was very anxious. Anxiety.
Sure.
And even at that time, he believed that the existence based on what we perceive is not necessarily corresponding to the external existence or reality. So even at that time, he was paranoid. And one of his first short stories he ever wrote was about his dog. And the story was that the dog knows that there is a conspiracy, that there are weird people not from Earth or aliens, I'm not sure what, but some kind of strange society that comes and takes all the rubbish and stores it in a secret place for some like special reasons. And when the dog barks, he says like groom, groom.
Oh, it's fucking his fifth wife talking about this.
Yeah. And the dog, when he moves, he says the name of the aliens, and they are called like Wurgs or something.
The other thing you forgot too is that he had a twin that died.
Yes,
at birth.
twin
This
sister.
was something that kind of stayed with him forever. That he should have been the one that died or something.
Yes,
He was living a life that he didn't deserve. or
yes.
something.
He
Yeah,
felt very guilty about it.
Get over it. Fucking hell. Do you know, it always comes to this thing that not so much this guy, but with successful people who have like bouts of depression and things like this. So, but they're very successful and very, very wealthy. Did you ever see The Godfather?
Of course.
Where he says, "You confess, stop being a man." Fucking hell, what's wrong with you? But not this guy. I'm just saying, like some of these people are just get over
Yeah.
yourself.
So he was constantly getting married and divorced. He was very, very attractive somehow. People really cling to him, and he also was very, very interested in people with mental problems with themselves, and he wanted to save them. So one of his friends in the interview said that he would pick out women that were very troubled mentally, and he would try to save them and help them, but he never tried to help himself.
And birds of a feather.
And he was constantly broke, no money. He used to eat dog food.
That's kind of bullshit, I think. I call him out on that.
Maybe.
And and one person pulled it up too. Because as anyone who's a pet owner knows that dog food or cat food is actually more expensive than any human edible food. He did it because he just wanted to say, I had to eat dog food. I think
Maybe.
he's just fine.
Maybe. We don't know that
Yeah,
exactly.
I think he's full of shit.
At one point, Robert Heinlein gave him money.
Yeah, something else about that.
And he said in response that he has high respect for him. It was like a fun quote. He said, Robert Heinlein is a fine-looking man, very impressive and very military in stance. You can tell that he has a military background, even to the haircut.
And the tash.
He knows I'm a flipped-out freak, and still he helped me and my wife when we were in trouble. That is the best in humanity there. That is who and what I love.
Maybe Highline wanted to do something like swinging with a crazy chick or something.
Do you know from the episode about Arthur C. Clarke, how Arthur C. Clarke was flying around the jungle in the helicopter with Heinlein on a trip adventure?
I heard something about it.
Maybe he wanted to get another.
Yeah, maybe so.
I don't know what happened there, but so I'm not sure how much we should get into all this nonsense that happened with his life.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of documentaries you can check out, actually. So
There's one on YouTube we would
there's two,
recommend.
Yeah, one of them's a bit better than the other, I thought.
To sum up, he attempted suicide multiple times. He didn't have a place to. So what happened in his life is he would get married, he would get a child, and things were kind of nice. And then he would go a little bit crazy. It's very understated. And the wife would leave him, and he would have no money, no place to stay, and then he would reset and do again.
I was thinking of the story. You can remember it wholesale.
Mm-hmm.
The wife in the story is very different from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because she's just like, I'm tired of your shit. I'm leaving.
That's exactly based on his real life.
Yes. I was like, oh, okay. This is very, yeah.
Many times the wives in the documentary would say that they felt like they were living in one of his books, one of his novellas, and the scene when the wife leaves him is exactly based on
Very
reality.
different from Sharon Stone. Like, sort of this seductive kind of woman.
Yep.
And the wife in the book is just like, I'm sick of your shit. I'm divorcing you. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what happened with one of the wives was that she got a psychiatrist for marriage counseling.
Okay.
And Philip Dick was so charismatic that he became really good friends with the psychiatrist. And they would have meetings together and they would like have interesting conversations, eventually completely not including the wife for this counseling. And then Philip Dick would persuade the psychiatrist to take his wife into the mental hospital. And the police would come take his wife to the mental institution while he was just fine at home because he was good friends with the psychiatrist.
Oh my god.
Which is insane. And uh, then it escalated even more, and the wife would come back home, and he would pull a gun on her, and he would say, like, just get out of my life. You're like detrimental to my mental health and stuff like that. And she would have to leave. And that was one time they divorced.
That's it, the picture you sent me of him holding the cat. And the cat knows. Cats know, like, this guy's batshit insane. Even the cat's like, it's like my cat when you come over.
Yes, they know I'm insane.
Well, one of them thinks so. But,
Both.
Alright,
We put a picture in the notes of the episode. The cat's looking at him like,
gonna do it.
yeah, I'll do it. Of
No,
course.
I'm doing it. No.
Yeah. So next step was that he started experimenting with psychedelics,
Of course you would.
namely amphetamine. And the reason was that he would just work a normal job during the day. Then he would get a dose of amphetamine, which at the time apparently the pharmacist wouldn't know any better, so he would just write them for prescriptions or for medicine, and they would actually deliver it to their house. And the wife said in the documentary, like, there was so much medicine arriving at our house and we didn't know what it was for. And then they found out only later when he was having his episodes and mental breakdowns. But he would
You
get
just ride all night or something.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's why that was his excuse
Like
why he got
days,
amphetamine.
and then just sleep for 24
So for days he would work all day, not sleep, and write all night on amphetamine, and then he would just crash and sleep like the day or two, and then he would reset. And that was his reason.
It's very productive.
He took LSD twice,
God.
and the second time was really bad, and then he never did it again. But he checked himself into drug rehab himself, and didn't help much. After that, he didn't have a place to stay. So one of the students or professors at the university where he gave a speech just picked him up at the airport and offered him a place to stay. At that point, he had no money, nothing. And they said that when they picked him up, he used his extension cord to tie the luggage together, and he had like an oversized, like dirty jacket, and he would look like hell. And they would just let him stay. But after 2 weeks, they couldn't deal with him anymore, so they...
Fuck up in the house, yeah.
Then he had this house, and like you said, he claimed that somebody just trashed his house.
Yeah, burgled his house.
Stole from.
But he did it.
And then it was revealed that maybe he did it himself.
Yeah, I think he did it.
Which nobody knows what actually happened, but I think what happened was that somebody hit the house because of the drugs he had. Because at the same time...
Maybe he was looking for his own stash and couldn't find it.
That's awful.
That's
awful.
How is that?
So it all escalated until
God.
the house was completely open to everybody, and all kind of junkies and addicts started living at his house. And
Was he still right?
And he was, of course, writing, and he would have like interesting conversations, speeches, and presentations to these addicts. Like, so he would come home and he would just talk to them about his writing.
This is kind of darkly. Yeah.
Yes, and one book is this story.
Yeah.
That's the book. So it's exactly what to say.
I was gonna say, it sounds like. So basically, his books are just works of fiction. Oh, sorry, non-fiction, I should say.
Well, yes and no.
Non-fiction. It sounds like non-fiction movie, but.
Depends how much you believe what he says.
So can we get to the book?
Not yet.
Not too long.
No, this is like the main thing I want to talk about, because there's a lot of paranormal or like talking to God and all kinds of experiences that were not explained and were strangely coming true. So at one point, first he saw like a metal face in the sky. Then he saw some other visions, and then at one point the most like talked about incident was that a lady came to his house who was wearing a fish like kind of necklace. And there was a beam of light that reflected off the necklace, and he said, and this is also a point of one of his novels, that the beam of light reflected of the fish was pink and hit his forehead and impacted wisdom and knowledge on him and allowed him to talk to God in like directly. And he would know things that other people wouldn't know, and he would realize that the reality we perceive is not real at all, and there is a lot of other stuff beyond. And he would predict that his newborn son, with his maybe fourth wife or fifth wife, would be seriously injured. He had a hernia, and he called the hospital that the son has a hernia before anybody knew that, and he was right, which was like a point in his life that he believed. Then after this point, he believed that he has the power to know more than people can know. I see you're very skeptical about all
Of
this.
course. It's just fucking the classic line of like a broken clock is right twice a day kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, we just sometimes things are just a coincidence.
So
Of course.
he had this like breakdowns and episodes, and one of his friends was a professor, and he studied and taught languages, and he spoke Latin. And after one of his mental breakdowns, he woke up and he spoke perfect Latin.
Oh, that's like the sometimes when people have like weird brain injury or something, they can kind of do things like sort of become like a savant kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think he's just fucking hurt his head. Clearly,
Clearly,
yeah,
but how can he speak Latin? He never studied Latin. He never read anything Latin. And the guy who was with him, he said it was really creepy and spooky that he could speak Latin in correct grammar and kind of a casual tone, and there was no reason for it. It was just what. So at that point, he believed he was a character from Rome, and he was attacked by Roman soldiers, and he lived a double life, and he thought he was speaking Latin in this other life. Insane.
it's clearly bonkers.
So the whole time there is a series of novels called Velis, like Valis,
Okay.
and that's the entity that he spoke to, like to meeting the God experience.
Oh yeah.
And he said it's either God or it's an artificial intelligence that is used to communicate with God, because communicating with God directly would drive me insane, and that's not possible. Or it's a communist socialist society.
Oh, it's like the CIA and
Yes.
something.
It's either the CIA or it's a Soviet experiment with telepathy, and they're sending me information from the Soviet Union. So that was something that happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah, insanity. So the whole time, just, yeah,
It's paranoid schizophrenic. Clearly.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
And last thing I want to mention is this conference in Paris when he had to give a speech.
I thought he was 75, but he was like, how old?
I think it was like 45.
He's the same age as me. But he looked he looked like an old man. Like
He looked like an old man. He looked like a fine, like normal-looking old man, but he was 30 years old, younger than
yeah,
me.
yeah. I was shocked, but
Oh, he didn't look that bad, but he didn't look bad.
maybe the Czech standards.
By Czech standards, that's usually how
That's you,
long
yeah.
people live, so anyways.
50, 53.
So he said a lot of things that were kind of influential in a way that he didn't expect, I don't think. Like, for example, he quotes word by word the Matrix movie, but it's in 1977. In the Matrix, there is a scene where the cat resets, and they said it's a glitch in the Matrix because it's a deja vu that you see twice something happen. He quotes this thing, literally describes it in the speech.
Yeah,
And-
but it's just retroactive. They've just come back and maybe copied what he said. That's all.
Yeah, that's what I want.
okay.
That's what I meant to say exactly. So he's kind of influential with all these
okay.
social, like all these popular media, without intending it, because he was very seriously trying to say during this speech that he knows that the reality we perceive is not real, and stuff like that. And he was giving specific arguments what people perceive that's proof that it's not real. The reality.
What was an example? Do you remember something?
Yeah, like the deja vu thing. I didn't write none of
okay.
other stuff. There was, yeah, I forgot, but
No.
he was trying to persuade everybody that we are indeed living in a computer simulated world, and he gave specific examples why and what and where you can see it. And a lot of these things are plot points in modern movies, things like that. So he was very influential, but didn't mean it in that way. So I think his creativity was very original.
Okay, onto the book.
Okay, I'll shut up.
No,
But
it's not a biography channel.
it's a fascinating story, and I think he's a really clever, interesting guy. Everything I learned about him, I think it's and I like his writing a lot. I've read a lot of stuff from him, and I would recommend it very much. It's very different.
This is the only short story I've read.
So I hope we will read more. Hopefully on some future episodes. If you ever want to try Ubik, I would be very curious what you'd think. Maybe you'd love it because it's very different.
Yeah, maybe so.
And if you like the aspect of going crazy from Lovecraftian stories, this is going crazy like hard. Like
I've gone crazy in this country, so it's fine. All right, so let's get your ass to Mars.
So let's talk about the short story. We can remember it for you. What's the name?
We can remember it for you, Wholesale.
Yes. So
Good title, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. I wanted to say Total Recall.
Yes. What do you mean?
Well, that's how he pronounces it in the book, and then there's like, no, it's actually Total Recall.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
Total Recall.
Okay. Okay. So the main character is Quail.
Yeah, in the movie they changed into more like a tough man with Quaid.
Quaid. I was curious with
Quail.
Okay, yeah. It's like Douglas or something?
Douglas Quail. But in the movie it's Quaid. Quaid. And in the book he works in an office. And why like Arnold became like governor of California. You had to put him in a suit. But in the movie, they had to make him like a construction worker because he showed off his muscles and stuff.
Yeah, I think they were playing on the theme of, going to be a construction worker or with the construction workers at Marx, and they were just trying to have the same kind of.
I think just no one would believe Arnold Schwarzenegger as a office worker.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. That's actually a good point, yes.
That's why. So he's just a clerk.
He's got a very good life, comfortable life, but he's
Wife
very.
hates him.
His wife hates him, yeah. But he's not. He doesn't like. He's not desperate. She doesn't hate him. Like hate him. She's just kind of indifferent, I think.
It's quite nasty.
Oh, okay.
I thought. Okay. Well, I think he's like he's just talking about his life. I think like he's.
He doesn't want to get divorced. He wants to have some fun, kind of. He has this urge to do something.
He has an urge to go to Mars.
Why does he want to go to Mars?
I can't remember actually.
Yeah, he doesn't know. It's just like, I want to go on an adventure. I always had this dream to visit Mars.
She was talking about in the movie they were talking about going on some like cruise to Saturn or something. But in the book they talk about like a deep water adventure or something like this. Yeah.
But so he wants to have some kind of adrenaline experience or something exciting. But for some reason he really wants to go to Mars. He's like looking at these other options, but those are not as fun. Not as interesting. He never really says what he wants to do at Mars, on Mars. Like, what's the reason? So then he finds this company. Maybe the wife recommends it? No?
That's a good point.
I think the wife recommended it for him to like calm down or something because she was fed up with it. She didn't want him to go to Mars because it's too expensive. It's a waste of time and money. And he should just do his job and shut up. And he was like, okay, I'll go see this company.
Total Recall.
So the company implants memories. They fabricate and fake evidence that will make you believe that you actually were there.
You give some postcards and receipts and everything else.
And there's like souvenirs and like clothes and
3D pictures.
And they would implant a trip into your memory that would be your holiday that never happened, but you would pay for the memory implantation, so you would feel and believe that the holiday actually happened. They never talked about the repercussions, but I want to ask, how often do you think people would be freaked out by this? Or do you think, how often would people question their own memories were fabricated by this company? If you live in this world, would you be worried that this is like the paranoia feeling that's kind of not in this story, but that would be very much if this was a book. He would definitely write about this, like how paranoid people would be, that all of their memories are fake.
Yeah, but I think memories aren't reliable already.
Exactly.
So, I mean, people kind of already have like fake memories anyway.
Mhm.
So I think, it's fine. You just be like, yeah, just pile it on.
And
Whatever.
one of the selling points of Total Recall is that the memories will be more vivid and more easily remembered than the real memories. So it's even better than if you actually go there.
But the secretary says no with Total Recall. By the way.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay.
Keeps talking about like her breast or something. It's covered.
Yeah, that's because she's naked.
Yeah. God, this guy's a fucking loon.
And she is in this. There's multiple scenes when he meets her. Every time she's got different
Color, yeah.
spray paint on her breast.
Yeah. What's going on?
I think I like it. It's a very this future is very like not money oriented, but like very how would you say, not down to earth, like very directly. They don't give a shit in this future. You know, they
No, like kind of like without any.
and it pretends like it's not pretentious.
There's no modesty kind of thing.
No modesty. So it completely fits in this nature, like in this future. Of course, you wouldn't go to holiday because you can just have the memory.
No.
Of course, you wouldn't wear your shirt because you want to show your breast. Like whatever. Like they just go for it, and the movie feels the same. They just like it's very rough. It's very naturalistic, down to earth, to the point. No shit's given. So it fits there. I think
It's Paul Verhoeven, so
yes,
he didn't care.
yes. And in this world, they very much don't care.
I don't think you could just on the movie. Man, that movie was so violent.
Yes.
Yeah, but now, like, I was watching something the other day too. It's like, well, I was watching clips of the remake of Total Recall. There's like no blood at all. Where like Verhoeven's just like squids like flying out and being turned into Swiss cheese and stuff, and a human shield and stuff.
Yes.
I watched it 12 years old with my mum in the theater. It's like an awesome memory I have.
As much as that movie is dumb, I think it's amazing.
It's great. You can't make it now.
You can, but it has
Be
to
an R, right?
Yes,
right.
it would have to be like a grindhouse horror movie or something. So he gets into this company and he wants to pay for his holiday, his dream holiday. And what happens?
Same as the movie. He has a flip out.
I think in the movie they start uploading the memories and he has a freak out during it.
Yeah.
But here the worker at the company is like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, he has the memory already.
You're about to upload a fantasy about being a secret agent on Mars.
And it's already
And in his subconscious memories, it's already there.
there. Yes.
What?
So in the book, they basically give him half the money back and then
Yes.
send him on his way.
Yes.
And then later he's like, wait.
And he tried to erase his memories. That he was there.
Yeah.
So not only do they erase his memories that he wanted to go to Mars, they erase the memory that he visited the company, and they give him half his money back. What is that?
Yeah, I know. It's like, because then he's like, wait a second.
Yes.
I've been gypped. So I shouldn't use that word, should I? I've been ripped off. Anyway,
I think you can use that word.
Well, anyway, so he goes back and he says, "I'm going to complain or write a letter to the like Consumer Affairs Agency or something, and you better give me my money back," kind of thing.
Yes.
So yeah, that's like completely different from the movie. It's not in the chair like,
Yeah. I think from this point,
grab him.
I think from this point it's different.
Yeah.
So
Did I
then
skip over anything?
no.
No, okay. Fine. So he's gone back to get his money back. You've only gave me half my money. Memories are not there. I've been ripped off.
Yeah. So what happens next?
God.
I'm not sure what the sequence, but basically the secret agency
Yes, that's right.
gets hold of him. Somehow learn that he knows.
Because this is the interesting thing that I thought. In the movie, everyone recalls the scene where he pulls the tracker out of his nose.
Yes.
And I think in the new one, there's something in his hands or something. But this one, they got like he's got alien slime or goo in his brain, so basically listening to everything he does.
So they can hear his thoughts.
Yes.
So they're constantly monitoring everything he thinks.
Sounds like a paranoid person to me. But anyway, yes. So he's got this, and for some reason, in his house, he's kept like souvenirs of all these like alien, just like artifacts.
Yeah. He opens like a box of Mars fauna, some plants, They're all dried up because he
Yeah.
forgot he was there.
Yeah.
And then he starts to remembering that, wait a minute, I actually was on Mars,
Mhm.
and maybe I actually was a secret agent, and it suddenly all comes back to him.
Yeah. So the guys are like, you are on Mars to like assassinate.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Now you know this, so we can't let this go out,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna kill you. And he knows. Well, they're thinking what he thinks because, well, one of the guys was like as well, uh, like maybe we should let him like bring him in, and they're like, well, we can't bring him in because he's a secret agent, kind of thing. Because and then suddenly he disarms them or something.
Yeah, there's a fight,
Yeah.
and because he's a trained
Yeah.
professional, it's like, what is it, the movie Born Legacy or something?
Ah, yes.
So he just fights them off, and he starts escaping. But they have this. I really like this scene, by the way. It's probably the best part of the short story. Like him realizing it and understanding what it means, and being more paranoid. And then they talking with each other with his thoughts. So he keeps thinking stuff, and they hear it. So they have like a negotiation in his head.
Yeah.
Which at this point he's going down an elevator or escaping somewhere, and while he's being almost killed, they have this negotiation in his thoughts, which is a very exciting scene. And they come to an agreement that they will try to. So he persuades him because he's a good negotiator. It's also part of his spy like history. He talks them into, after many ideas, that they would give him a different fake fantasy memory to kind of kill his urge to go to Mars.
Yeah.
Because his own personality, I also like this point very much. They said that they can implant memories, but they can't implant or change your urges or desires, which is a very interesting idea. Like, if you were able to change your memories, would you be able to change what you want? According to this, no.
Okay.
Do you agree with it?
Somewhat.
I think that's an interesting thought experiment. If you accept that you are what you are, who you are because of what you've been through,
It's nature.
does that make you like things because of what you've been through? And if you can change what you've been through, does it change what you like?
I think it's a whole kind of nature nurture kind of argument.
I understand it in a way that yes, but your subconscious or your brain somehow still knows that the implanted memories are not real. So therefore, it still doesn't change the other part of your consciousness. So therefore, you are convinced that this is what you remember, but the primal urge to do something is not changed because that's the real you. So that was very interesting to think about. That's why I like this.
Okay.
So you carry on. I keep talking too much.
Yes.
What happens next?
So he's just talking about his life. He has a psychiatrist talk to him.
So the point is to find which is the most amazing fantasy they can implant so he could forget Mars.
So basically saving the world from an alien invasion.
But a very creative alien invasion.
Mice people?
There's like miniature aliens.
Like little mice or something.
Yeah. And what do they do? What do they want?
Well, no, they really like him, of course, because he's such a charming guy. It's really self-inserting himself here. And that they won't invade or take over Earth as long as he's alive. So as long as he's living, that they won't come. So that's have I missed something?
They talked about something that I forgot kind of.
Okay.
They said basically they negotiated what the aliens want and what he wants and how they would and they came to an agreement that as long as he's living and keeps this a secret,
alright,
then they wouldn't invade Earth and take over Earth.
Alright, so the big twist at the end is that this was real.
Yes. So they want to implant this memory, this fake fantasy, so he would stop getting the urge to go to Mars. And the same thing happens again. As soon as they want to upload the memories, the technician is like, oh,
it's already there.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, so they're like, he's probably already going to get like a letter from the UN thanking him and stuff like that. He's probably already received it, kind of thing. So this is, and that's where it ends, basically, isn't it?
So they don't kill him.
No. Yeah, they can't. Yes. So,
Which is probably the only short story I remember having read, our book, our novella from this guy, that ended with a good ending. All of the other things I remember, the characters always end up being completely just brainwashed or completely not remembering who they were or what happened to them, completely messed up. So this might be one of the most positive stories that he's ever written.
wow.
So yeah, I would really recommend this. It's very easy to read, very creative, very fun.
Yeah, I think if you like the movie, you probably like this too. It's different, slightly different.
So please let us know, listeners, at myduckbooks@gmail.com or in the comments. Would you like to read more or hear more about Mr. Dick?
Okay.
And if you want to read Ubik, I will be very curious. I don't know how long it is, but
Very busy man.
you could try it. Or at least I'm very excited to read. We could do Minority Report or do Android's Dream of Electronic Sheep, which is the book that's Blade Runner is based on.
Just thought that Colin Farrell's in 2 of those movies.
Yeah.
He's in Minority Report.
Yep.
And then he's also in the remake of Total Recall.
And how about Blade Runner? Is he in that? In the remake or the
2049? No, I don't think so.
Have you seen that movie? By the way?
Yeah, I have.
I love that.
Yeah, it's very beautiful and well thought out, and it's also very dumb.
How depressing is it though?
Yeah, it's miserable.
It's exactly what all these books are.
Yeah.
How do you like the original Blade Runner?
Yeah, it's a classic of he's supposed to be a detective, but he's like not very. He doesn't do much detective work. Yeah, it's just the world is great.
The original one, I was very bored. The new one, I wasn't. I didn't think it was dull. I think it was much better than the original, actually. It was one of the remakes, like the Lega sequels, that I thought was much better.
Yeah, I think it's Harrison Ford and Ruka Hauer kind of carried that first movie. You know, their performances as the ones that kind of made the movie. Yeah, Ridley Scott, I think, kind of a very overrated director, to be honest.
I like him. I think he's not overrated, in my view.
He hasn't done anything good recently. For like 20 years.
Really beg to differ. Tell me what it's called. It's like a medieval story from two points of view.
Kingdom of Heaven?
No. So first of all, Raised by Wolves. I really like the sci-fi series.
No, I never watched it.
The Last Duel.
No, that's pretty old.
It's 2 years old.
What? Okay. The Duelist.
It's
I've seen the Duelist.
It's less than 2 years old.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay.
Loved it. He wrote it and directed it. Wrote it. It's based on a supposedly true story. But the action was amazing. The characters were great. The ideas depicted was awesome. I like Ridley Scott.
Okay.
I will defend him.
Sure.
So please read more Philip K. Dick, and thank you for listening.
Say it again.
Please read more Philip K. Dick. Please write us comments and messages to Paul so he reads more. And thank you for joining me again. I was afraid you would be leaving the podcast because you got your break. Your other stuff is more successful. So
Check out the J vlog.
check out Paul's J vlog,
J vlog.
home improvement vlog,
That's the same thing.
history vlog.
No, that's a secret. It's Faceless channel. Fucking hell.
Okay, don't check out that. That's gonna be abandoned.
I suppose I have one coming up about. So I've missed the window about Indiana Jones, and because that's a big thing out now.
Mr.
And the amateur archaeologist called Diporek, which was basically kind of like a Balak from the first movie. Basically a grave robber. So he was a really interesting character, and I was putting a script together and everything, but I think I've missed my window to push it. So, well.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Thanks for listening, and see you in the next episode.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.
No.